hello, this is James Griffin. This is my second economics lecture. And it's been a while since I've taught economics, but it's something that needs to be said, and that's why I'm doing this. Today we're going to talk about money. What is money? We use money, but we don't know what money is. Well, let's talk about what money is. We know what we can use it for, but what is money? You actually understand money by its function. So let's talk about the first function, a medium of exchange. So I'll walk into a gas station and I can pull out cash and I can buy gas or use a debit card or something like that. But the fact is when it says it's $2.40 per gallon or $1.40 per gallon, depending on what decade you're in or what part of the decade, that is what it costs, and we know what it costs. And I'm not going to have to clean the floor in the store. I'm not going to have to change somebody's oil. I'm not going to have to babysit the owner's child in order to pay for my gas. I pay for cash and I walk out. And as such, it is a measure of value. So I know that a gallon of gas is worth, about the same price as say a certain amount of beef, ground beef or something. And that for, say, the cost of 5 or 6 gallons of gas, I might be able to buy a steak, a cheap steak in a restaurant, and a nice steak in a grocery store. We also know that it provides a standard for deferred payments. So let's just say I'm buying somebody's car, and he's a neighbor of mine, and I'll say, okay, I'll give you $5,000 today, and I'm going to give you $5,000 in 6 months, and I'll give you $5,000 at the end of the year. And we sign a contract for it. And so there's no doubt of what I'm going to pay him for that car. And if I get more sophisticated and I borrow money from, say, Ford Motor Credit or something like that, then they've got 2 years of monthly payments at such and such interest rates. But that's all measured in money, in this case dollars. It's also a convenient means for storing wealth, which would mean that I've got cash in my pocket, and that's the wealth I might need if somebody needs to buy something fairly inexpensive. I generally don't carry out a lot of cash. All right, let's talk about qualities money should possess. First, constancy of value. In Venezuela, they have a serious problem right now. Their money might be worth less at the end of the week than in the beginning of the week. So they have incentive to buy things, particularly things that are tangible. So if you're trying to buy, say, toilet paper, canned goods, fuel, anything that has practical, immediate value, then you can't find it on the shelves in Venezuela right now. Now here in the U.S., it's coronavirus time, and we also have a problem with that. Not so much we have a money shortage, but we have a goods shortage. And people want to make sure that if we run out of vital things like toilet paper or something like that, they've got plenty. Next thing, money should possess intrinsic value. It shouldn't be valuable for just one thing, it should be valuable. So for instance, if I have a pair of concert tickets and the date of the concert is July the 3rd, well, I could sell those concert tickets anytime between now and July the 3rd. So the concert tickets are not very good as money. You could use them as a medium of exchange, but they're not good as money because their value is not intrinsic. The value is of limited value, of a limited time, limited space. Also, money should possess portability. That's why we don't use silver as money, because silver, if you were going to buy a car, you'd have to lug around a lot of silver to buy that car. So silver could be used as money. It has been used as money, but it's not the only medium of exchange you'd want. And if you're buying something in bulk, like say 10,000 tons of wheat, you wouldn't want to be exchanging it in silver. Next thing, money needs to have durability. And we know that some coins don't last, or coins actually last a long time. Paper money doesn't necessarily last a long time, but paper money lasts long enough Most paper can stay in circulation for a few months or a few years. Every once in a while you'll look at a dollar bill or a $20 bill and see it's been in circulation for a lot longer than that. But money needs to be durable. If it were, say you used Ritz crackers as money, there's a problem. They crumble real fast. They don't make good money. Also, it needs to be a standard with recognizable appearance. So if I pull out a dollar bill, we know exactly what it looks like and we know exactly what it's worth. And last of all, money has to be divisible. In other words, if I bring you a $10,000 bill and it's the only coin or piece of paper in America, it's going to be very difficult because $10,000 is a very large denomination. And so we need to be able to divide it. And here in America, we can divide all the way into pennies. Pretty amazing. A few definitions. First definition, barter is just what we're talking about when you're trading goods for goods. So if I want to buy gas and the guy says, well, I'll take your car. Well, the fact is the car's worth a lot more than several tanks of gasoline, so it's not good to barter that. Now, I do know people who do certain services, say they're type of construction, and sometimes they will do work for somebody and later on, instead of paying them in cash, the client will do some type of service and they'll trade. That's called barter. It's done a lot. It's not done a lot in America as the way it used to be, but it's still done. What is specie? S-P-E-C-I. Specie would be hard money, cash, coin. So let's talk about some other things related to money. Sometimes there's a supply of money which is greater than the goods which are for sale. And if that's the case, then the value of the money actually goes down. So let's just say the government starts printing money and circulating more money just because we have debts and the government's trying to pay debts with paper money. Well, if the government does that, the value of the money goes down, which means the prices of everything goes up, at least as denominated in that currency. Venezuela has that problem right now. They've got more paper money in circulation, more money in circulation than they have goods. They have inflation. Let's also say that the supply of money is less than the amount of goods. Then you have deflation because people are trying to find money. And deflation, of course, is not good either. All right, let's talk about good money versus bad money. Good money is such that it's very dependable. So for instance, if there's a severe recession, you'll see people buy gold and silver because they're afraid that paper money might not be worth as much. Money that is not priced or set to any price like gold is called fiat money. Fiat money, the value of it is just set by what people want. So for instance, if I go to a poor country like Venezuela and I pull out $100 of US currency, that's very valuable because Venezuela is in trouble and their currency is worthless. And on the other hand, if somehow we just got in serious trouble in the US, like in the late 70s, we had a lot of inflation and our money was becoming not worthless, but it wasn't what it was. And so that's what we call good money versus bad money. Now, we have the face value of money. And in Venezuela, they say their money is worth a certain amount, but it really isn't because in the black market, that money is not buying what they say it's buying. Near money would be things like credit cards or bank deposits or demand deposits in bank. They're not money, but they're close to it. They're so close because they have the big L word. They have liquidity. Liquidity. Now, we've talked a little bit about the gold standard. Not too many years ago, the US dollar was worth a certain amount of gold. It was basically $32 for an ounce of gold. That system has been abolished. The US dollar is now fiat money. It's worth whatever people think it's worth, which has to do with the trustworthiness of the US government and the economy of the United States. So if you look back in ancient history and you'll see that gold coins, silver coins, bronze coins, copper coins, things like that have been minted for a long time, usually of a fairly common metal that is easy to find. If you have silver coins and gold coins, people hoard them, and that introduces us to something called Gresham's Law. Let's just say we have gold and silver coins. That's what people use. Let's just say a new king comes, and the new king issues copper coins and says you can use the copper coin instead of the gold and silver coin. Well, people who understand the value of gold and silver are going to put that gold and silver in their pockets and hold on to it, and they're going to use the cheaper money, because cheaper money will end up in circulation, and the dearer money, the gold and silver, will end up out of circulation. And that's called Gresham's Law. And so that's a rule of money, and it's true. So if all your money is in copper coins and you start issuing paper money, then people start hoarding the copper. That's just what people do. We've been discussing things called near money. That would be credit cards, which aren't money, but they're near money because their liquidity is so great that they essentially are money. Likewise, a time deposit. So if you put $1,000 into a bank account and it's going to be there for 6 months, well, it's got liquidity. You could withdraw it if you needed to. You could even somehow sell it or something like that. That would be what we call near money. Likewise, demand deposits, in other words, a checking account, that is also near money because it's so close to being money, it is money. Now, all this is based on essentially paper money, which is a fairly modern invention in terms of widespread use. And so it replaced the gold standard because until fairly recent years, you could actually trade U.S. currency for gold if you really wanted gold. Now it was fixed at $32 an ounce or $35 an ounce. I think it varied. But today the gold price is roughly, I think it's around $1,000 an ounce, and it has been for a while. So that's a different thing. Okay, one really important concept about money we haven't discussed yet, but we need to discuss it a lot. It's just as important as liquidity, and that's called the velocity of money. So right now, because of the coronavirus, right now I'm not thinking about spending a lot of money because I don't know what's going to happen to the economy. I don't know what's going to happen to my investments. So the money I have, I'm probably going to slow it down and try to hold on to it a little bit longer because I might be a little afraid that if I spend my money, I might have less money later or the economy might tank, etc. So I've become cautious. That means the velocity of money has slowed down. Now, what if we're in a situation where things that you do right now, which are either unprofitable or only marginally profitable, and then all of a sudden it was profitable? So let's just say you love to water ski, and somehow, for some reason, your skill as a water skier became a job you could do for $500 an hour. You could water ski. Well, at that point, as long as you could water ski 40 hours a week, you would have money to burn, and the velocity, at least of your money, would go up significantly. And if the economy is prosperous, the velocity of money goes up. That means that I go shopping, I buy stuff, I make major investments, I sometimes even borrow money to buy something now and paying for it later. That's when the velocity of money is high. If the velocity of money is low, in contrast, then things are slowed down. An economy is not based on the total amount of money, as in like the number of dollar bills in print. The amount of money out there has to do with the velocity of money. How fast are people recycling that money? So if I go shopping this afternoon and I buy things from 7 confident people who by the end of the day have also bought things that they might not normally buy. The economy is booming. Of course, it can crash, but that's another story for another day. But the velocity of money is absolutely vital as far as understanding money. Now, what happens if the velocity of money gets too fast is you might have a crash. But we'll discuss that later. And that's today's lesson.